If you had an invisible killer in your house, would you want to know about it? Well, in this video, I want to address the issue of radon. Radon is a naturally occurring invisible particle that comes up from the ground. And sometimes our homes can capture it. And it turns out it can be the cause of lung cancer. In fact, it's the second leading cause of lung cancer, right behind smoking. And then furthermore, if smoking and radon exist, it compounds the effect or the negative effect of your risk for cancer. So there are things we can do about this. First of all, smoking, we have determined for a long time now, is something we should try to eliminate. But if we did, and we didn't eliminate radon, we'd still be seeing lung cancer. And my mission is to have people live where they can thrive. That's why I do what I do in real estate. And part of that is not just having the house in the place that works and serves you and your family. It's having a house that's safe and healthy. And this video is going to focus on that. I hope to share with you a free radon test kit that's available for Ohio residents. I'll show you how I set mine up and tested my house. I'll show the results. And I'll share with you some ways that I can point you in good directions if you should have a negative result. First of all, here's the Ohio website where you can go in. It's very simple and easy. You'll enter your address and some contact information, and you'll receive the test kit. So the story behind radon and its risks has an interesting background. Way back in Pennsylvania, when they were building a nuclear power plant, they gave the construction employees a monitor to wear to determine if they were being exposed to radiation. One of the employees was wearing this and consistently was testing high. None of the other contractors were, but this one individual was consistently testing high for radiation exposure. And it didn't make any sense because the nuclear power, the uranium, to charge the reactor and would be the source of any radiation was not even installed yet. It wasn't even in the area. So they were able to trace back the source of this radiation to his home. It turned out he had extremely high levels of radiation in his house that he and his family were exposed to. And in fact, if they were not aware or not able to change that, it probably would have killed them all. It was at such a high rate. And I'll finish the story a little later. But that was the source of the understanding of radon and its existence in our homes, and furthermore then led to how we can mitigate the problem. So here we go. Here's the website that shows you how to register, and I'll share some video clips on how I did the test in my house and my end results.
This is what's inside the envelope. On the front it says use 2 of these for real estate tests. I can tell you in the real estate sales, we usually can't wait for the results. So we will typically see buyers pay probably $125 to get a inspector to set up a radon test. The test itself has to be a minimum of 48 hours, but in my world that's quick and a lot quicker than this. I waited a week for this. It's gonna run for a few days up to a week in my house, and then I'm going to send it away to a lab and get the results from there. So the total time to get this from beginning to the end might be up to a month. We'll see how this goes. So on the back, I'll open this up. There's a form to fill out with all kinds of data. So I will do that. Doesn't look too hard. Here's the form that I have filled out. I'm going to complete the rest of my address. I'm going to set up the test, and I'm going to start it today, which I've got a date and a time. It's actually going to be 4 p.m. I'm going to set it in the basement. Now, the house is going to be closed. It's easy right now because it's winter, But in the summertime, you need to run the test with your windows closed and your doors shut. So keep that in mind if you're doing this in the summer. And for me, I'm going to call this a post-mitigation test because I've already got a mitigation system and I think it's working fine, but it won't hurt to double check with this test. So there we go on that part of it. Now, with one hand, I'm going to try to hold my camera and open this end. Ta-da-ta-da, maybe not. It will hold the packet open. And on the end, I've got a hook right there, which I will use to place it in the basement. I want to go on the lowest floor in the house where there's living space. For me, that's the basement. And I'm going to hang it at roughly 2 to 5 feet above the ground or above the floor and away from any air vents or other distractions, heaters, fans, everything like that. So I'm going to go set this up and I'm going to come back and put it away and send it as soon as the time is up. Okay, it's 5 days later. My test kit's been hanging in the basement. I'm going to take it. And by the way, it's been carefully guarded by this bear, so we know it's been very secure. On the back, I'm going to fill out the end date. For me, this is 5 days later. It's a Monday. I'll tell you why I picked a Monday, but it's 5 days into the test. 3 is the minimum and 7 is the maximum. Now, I didn't say this, but it asks me to record this number. I'm going to do that after I complete filling this out by just taking a photograph, and I'll have all the information logged on my iPhone. And then when I pull out the cardboard, this is trash. There's a seal that's covered with a plastic covering, so I'll remove the covering, seal that up, and then I will mail it. Now, I said this was a free test, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let their postage send this thing to Naples, North Carolina. If you want to, if you think you need to expedite the delivery, you can send it UPS or other expedited mail. I don't think that's necessary, so I'm going to go and do the freebie. So we'll wait now on the postman to get it there and getting a response by email from the test lab. So here we go.
Okay, it's time for results. I received an email, and a few days later I received a snail mail copy of my test results. And the story was great. I ended up with 0.3 picocuries of radon per liter of air. Now, the actionable rate according to the EPA is 4.0 picocuries. So I'm less than 10% of the threshold, probably even like 8% of the threshold that would be actionable according to the EPA. Now, what if I wasn't? Well, you can get a contractor. Sometimes they'll even quote you on the phone to go in and mitigate your house. And virtually over 99% of the houses in the area, that's a doable process for, I think, a reasonable amount of money. In fact, my house, my system, I'm showing you a picture of my vacuum line going from my basement floor up against the basement wall. And from there it exits out. There's a blower, a vacuum blower on this system to pull whatever gases it can pick up underneath my foundation and push them out above the roof line where they're harmless. And you can see on there a manometer. The manometer shows a difference in the two red fluids in height. One side is higher than the other, indicating it does see a vacuum. If those two levels were the same, it would indicate that I've lost my vacuum for some reason. The power's off, the blower died, something went wrong, and I should take some action to make sure that blower gets the vacuum going again. Now, what about the house in Pennsylvania? When they found out how bad it was, the results were terribly high on this scale for radon. Many, I think, would have had the first reaction, let's tear that house down, move out, get away from there. That isn't what happened. That house, as bad as it was able to be mitigated. In other words, they were able to put in a system to reduce the levels, make it safe, and the family could continue to live there. I think that's a great story. And then furthermore, we have a local contractor that was a pioneer in the early stages of how to mitigate for radon. And if you check this video, you can see my interview. I think it's interesting and gives you some more details if you really want to see some of the things that have happened here. So we are capable in Northwest Ohio, all of Ohio, to take action. It's a matter of starting with a simple test. So I would encourage you to do that test even if you've got a mitigation system or you've had a good check sometime in the past. Do a recheck. And if you've never done it, for sure, get that first test going. So that's what I wanted to share with you. I hope you found it helpful. I hope your house is safe. And I hope we can talk soon. Thanks for watching. Take care and go slay some dragons.